Hello, everybody. Rob Mazak here. I am a psychic medium. This is Wednesday, 13th of March, 2024. And I wanted to talk about something that's not necessarily metaphysical. I kind of mix it up. But I wanted to kind of weigh in on this whole TikTok ban. Every single person is talking about it, even on TikTok. Go figure, right? But it is quite interesting, and I wanted to just kind of throw a little background out there from some research I've done in the past. And I encourage everybody to do their own research because it's not in plain sight necessarily, but it's discoverable. And I think that's the way it is with most information. They, powers that be, whatever you want to say, they don't necessarily hide it from us, but you got to know where to look for it. You got to take the time, do the research. And that's where a lot of us conspiracy theorists, if you will, quote unquote, get kind of hammered because, these days I don't think there's too many theories left. I think they're just conspiracies. You just got to figure out, how to follow the breadcrumbs. However, I will digress a little bit and move back to the original topic, right? And so TikTok, right? TikTok came around. I don't know how long it's been around. I don't know, several years or so, I guess. I'm not real big on the history of it, and it took me a long time to really accept being on it. And I find it actually pretty nice platform. And one of the things I like about it, which is probably what scares everybody in the government, our legislators, the House and Senate and all these things, as people are talking about 535 people rule our lives, which is true. However, once again, I digress, right? But TikTok is really cool because there's a lot less censorship. And I think that's really what it's about, because there's a lot more things you can put on there. Granted, there is some censorship. There must be, because you don't see a lot of really bad violence or porn or anything on there. So I'm sure there's limits. But the limits are a lot less than the algorithms on other places, like especially Facebook and Instagram, some of the big ones, right? And I'm sure formerly known as Twitter, X, is very similar. So I think it's really about the competition. Now, what everybody is saying is that, well, I should say all those people that are deciding and voting to shut down or block TikTok in the United States, they're touting that the Chinese-owned company called TikTok can data mine everything about the United States. Now, that may be true, right? However, let's talk about that for a second. If any of you out there think that our own government is not doing it and has been doing it for as long as the IT world has been booming, you're completely wrong, right? Because they have been listening. They have been outside of the parameters of the law for, search and seizure and having warrants to get information. Gone are the days when you need to get a warrant and have a wiretap put in and all that stuff, get a judge to agree. I mean, many entities are listening to us, right? And we're going to touch on that a little bit. So let's talk about Facebook for a second. So Facebook is a monstrosity. It is worldwide, and of course it started in the United States. And I'm trying to remember this from memory from a paper I wrote about 2 years ago for one of my master's classes. It was on social media, specifically about Facebook. And the more I researched it, the more, not upset, but the more concerned I got that there was a lot more to Facebook than I thought. I mean, I always knew that it listens, because you go click on some ad or some movie clip or whatever, reel, and it starts to pick up what you're liking to see, and so it starts populating your feeds, which I guess that makes sense. That's sales, right? But it goes deeper than that. When I started really digging into it, you can find it. It's there. You just got to research it, right? So Facebook came along. They were trying to develop, my understanding of it, I'm summarizing, is that some college folks were trying to develop a platform for, just to share information across the college, if you will, right? And they were struggling at trying to get the program or the app or whatever. I guess it wasn't an app back then, but to get this particular platform going. And it was around the same time that the NSA finally gave up on trying to figure out how to develop a way to data mine Americans, right? National Security Agency. And I get, trying to protect us from our adversaries. I completely understand that, because I like living in a safe or relatively safe country, right? And I get some of that, but I think we're gone a little too far, right? However, so the NSA finally gave up on whatever it was they were working on, and they saw the perfect opportunity to help the original founders of Facebook. And I know Mark Zuckerberg was in there. I don't remember the other person, other people. Anyway, so you can find this. I forget the monetary amount, but they dumped a bunch of money. NSA dumped a bunch of money into Facebook to help them develop the platform. And when you go look at what just Facebook collects, it will raise your eyebrows so high you'll probably get a massive headache. I mean, they data mine things, your driver's license numbers, your social security numbers. They look at suicidal ideations. They look at everything. They literally look at everything. They're collecting everything about you. Every device we have, especially if you have Facebook on your phone, right? Your laptops, and I mean, what I do, everybody does. Most people do anyway. So Facebook and programs like it or platforms like it are always listening. They are always peeking into our world, and some of it's for targeted sales, some of it's for security, and some of it I'm not sure what it's really about. Why do they need all of these things about us to protect us from outsiders, other countries? I don't understand. And Facebook is now worldwide, obviously, and so why aren't we banning Facebook? It collects way more information than TikTok probably ever will, right? Even if somebody else buys it, we'll come back around to that, right? And so I was born in 1960, and so I was around before cable TV and before the Internet of Things, if you will, right? Windows came out, all that stuff. And I remember I was one of the original groups of people that were post-wiring apartments and houses for cable TV. That was the newest thing. MTV was out and all that, right? And let me tell you, they began listening to us way back then. As soon as they tethered a cable to your devices, to your home, they could record audio. Back then, they didn't have the technology to really visually look in on us, right? But that's a lot of years of listening to us. And, I assume they're gathering this information, or they were gathering this information to look for people that were mischievous or bad, or I think you know where I'm going, but still, I mean, it is a complete invasion of privacy, which, we really don't have anymore. So I don't know why anybody even thinks we do. However, I mean, we have progressed since then to, the original internet browser, web crawlers, and Yahoo, and all these things. And we are amazingly connected now. It is just absolutely insane how connected we are. And we'll get around to our cell phone in a minute, but So Facebook is data mining our own citizens and, of course, worldwide. Yet we are worried about this little old platform called TikTok. It's not a little one anymore, but compared to the giants, Facebook and Instagram and some of those, yeah, it's not as big as those. But people are making a lot of money off of TikTok, running businesses off of it. And it's amazing how quickly you can get followers, right? And so what's interesting about TikTok is you can get followers very quickly and get very high visibility very fast. But unless, like on Facebook and Instagram, things like that, if you are putting up content like this content that is in this podcast here, right? They're going to find ways, I forget what the term is, they could shadow ban you, I think it is. And it really doesn't get very wide distribution. So, that's one way to keep all this type of information from going out. I mean, I'm sure they don't want people talking bad about them. And like I said, Facebook is a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's all inclusive, right? And I'm not here to prove or disprove anything. I want you to do your own research. Let's say that again, right? So, but if we're worried about the Chinese spying on Americans, I think we need to look other places. TikTok, sure, right? They can collect data, and the United States has no control of it. I think that's the kicker. The United States doesn't have access to any of that, and they can't see what they're collecting. And I think that makes them nervous, right? But how many products do we have in the United States that we import from China? A huge percentage. I don't know the percentage. I guess I could have looked it up before I started this, but regardless, I mean, many, many things are made in China, to include computers, programs, and the biggest one is we get most of our chips for computers and our vehicles from where? China. If you remember COVID, right? We had a chip shortage because COVID was the biggest, or had the biggest impact in China. It shut down a lot of factories, right? So if you remember, if you were in the market for a vehicle, you had a new one, that is, you had to wait 6 months to a year to get a vehicle because the chips simply were not being made. And so if chips and electronics and programs are being imported in the United States, made by the Chinese, if you think that there's not something built in or integrated into those things to listen to, quote unquote, spy, then you're sadly mistaken, right? They are listening. Everybody is listening. I'm not just bashing the Chinese. The Americans are doing it. We're probably the worst, right? But everybody's listening to everybody. And so what is really behind the TikTok thing, right? What is really behind it? Like I said, I think it's more about censorship and not having control of the data that's being collected. And so, the United States would rather have that. And the other thing, though, that is interesting is our invasion of privacy, the ability of the government to legally, quote unquote, look into our lives any time in any way they like. It's kind of come along in a tiptoe fashion. Started with the biggest time or change started with 9/11. We could talk about 9/11 for years, right? However, we won't. But since then, right, new laws, new acts and things like that were passed that allow the United States government now to peek in whenever they want, basically. And there's supposed to be limitations, but I doubt that there is, right? And so I don't think that TikTok is really the problem. I think the problem is everything else. I think it goes way deeper than even just using an app, right? And so I did a story on this, or a short video on this, a while back, but I think, because if you type in text or email or visit sites and things like that, you will get, stuff in your feed. You'll get stuff in your emails. You'll get stuff on your texts and phone, all that stuff, right? And that makes sense. It's kind of a direct link into the program or the platform or whatever, right? I guess we can all see that. I don't think that's a big secret anymore, right? But you can even now simply speak it. All you got to do is be around your devices. Talk to your spouse or something about, buying a Corvette. Next thing you know, there's all these ads for Corvettes, and they're even on commercials on television, which I've had a few times. And the television's on a completely different circuit, and it's like, it'll blow your mind, right? But I mean, I even had instances where driving down the highway and not, playing the music from my phone, and I saw an RV place, a dealership, and all I did was have the thought. I just had the thought, maybe, my wife and I should, relook at getting an RV. And I got to my destination, I don't know, 15 minutes later, and opened up Facebook, and it was all over my feeds. And I didn't type a single thing in. I didn't speak it, nothing. All I did was think about it. So we could go down a rabbit hole on that one. But, so, is TikTok the problem? I don't think so, right? We are connected beyond recognition. Everything, why do you think that it is almost illegal to live off the grid? Because you are not connected to the grid. And if you're not connected to the grid, they cannot monitor you, right? They do not want us to do that. They want everybody packed in the cities. There's 15-minute cities, which we can touch on, right? Packed in the cities, all connected to the same electrical grid. When I grew up, electricity was completely separate from everything. Now you can get your internet on it. You can get, Wi-Fi through it. I mean, just everything through electricity. You can plug in a router into your household voltage and get internet, right, through the electrical grid. And so I guarantee you that all your appliances, all your electronics are listening to you. Now, I remember the days when we had the old flip phones and the Blackberries and things like that, where you could literally take the battery off the back or out of the phone and turn it off. And then when, I was in the military for 20 years, still in the military, but in different capacity. But active duty, we'd go into our quote unquote secret meetings, and and the procedure was to take your phone, just, unhook the battery, take it out, and leave it outside the room in a box, right? But come to discover many years later that it doesn't matter whether the battery is in your phone or not. It can still listen to what is going on, right? And look at the technology now. I mean, that was back in the, the 2000s, right? Late 1990s, I guess. You're getting old when you can't remember when things happened. But anyway, so, right, look, and let's just fast forward to today. Our phones, our cell phones, absolutely track everything we do. And what do we do with our phones? You look at my phone. I have Facebook on there. I have Instagram. I have Threads. I have TikTok, LinkedIn. I know I got more, right? And I have all kinds of apps, banking apps, you name it. Every single thing that I do in life almost is on my phone. I use it for work, right? You got like the Signal apps and things that are supposed to be encrypted. Yeah, right. Sure, they're encrypted, right? But absolutely, you can't even log into websites without doing the two-step, right? And not have to use your phone to get a text or use the authentic or an authenticator app. And it's amazing how quickly you get that text message or that message to your authenticator to validate that you're trying to log into something. I mean, we are just ultimately connected to everything, right? And you can turn your phone off. You can let the battery die. And guess what? It can still listen and monitor you. It is crazy. So if you think that TikTok's the problem, I think you got another thing coming. I think it's much bigger than that. I think this is just a distraction in a lot of ways from many real problems, right? And or at least outside of what we talked about before, competition and censorship and data and all that, right? But the other thing, we're going to swing back to the cable and the television. Back in the the 70s when cable was around, they could only hear you, right? Now, go do your research. Smart TVs, which is almost every TV that's even sold, right? It can literally watch you. I refuse to have a television in my bedroom. Not doing it. I don't even watch TV, to be honest. Other members of my family do, but I don't do it. Well, for other reasons, but that's one of them, right? So if you do your research, you'll find some very interesting things on that. So once again, is TikTok the problem? I don't think so, right? It's one of the problems among many, many others, right? And so if we live in a world of the Internet of Things, what that really means is that every single thing in our life is connected through the internet in some way, shape, or form, right? And I believe it also includes us humans. There's a lot of speculation that COVID and all these things were implanting microbots and things. I mean, who knows, right? But I don't think they needed COVID to do that. I think they could have done that all these years and with any vaccination. But we're not going to go down that road right now. And I don't know if that's really true, right? That's only speculation based on what I've done for research, right? So, but I do believe that ultimately the governments of the world, especially ours, would love for us to be absolutely connected to the Internet of Things. So they can manage us. They can understand what we're doing. They can do. Remember the movie The Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where they used algorithms to predict with very high accuracy, according to the movie, people that were going to commit crimes, year, 2 years, 10 years down the road, and they would arrest and confine them before that could even happen. And I have heard that they are using AI. Oh my gosh, we got to talk on that a little bit. And algorithms to look at pre-crimes. So you wonder what's really going on in the movies, right? I'm straying. I'm sorry, right? But and then let's talk about AI for a minute. So artificial intelligence is really helpful. I mean, there are some really good tools that you can use AI for, or it provides tools for you. I mean, I could take, I'm part of a platform that I can take like podcasts like this that I do, or other videos or whatever, and upload 2 hours worth of video, and it will in a matter of minutes, it will create 60-second blocks of videos with complete descriptions, right? You don't have to do any of the work. You just might have to go tweak a few words here and there, but it is absolutely amazing for marketing, right? But imagine it getting away from us, right? We've all seen the movies. We've all seen the movies. Could it happen? It sure can. I understand. I read somewhere or saw a video from a former Google employee that stated that one of their original AI programs that they were developing, they gave super use access to their Google network. That's kind of scary. That means they could do anything they want within the Google platform. And Google's one of the largest, obviously, right? Now that's amazing to take AI, something that's a self-learning thing, and give it complete control. Whoa! I think that's where we're going. Anyway, so I kind of wandered around a little bit, but I wanted to kind of weigh in on this TikTok thing a little bit and just throw some ideas out there and some background and help people understand that I don't think TikTok is the issue. There is a much deeper issue there, and it may be more than what I'm talking about. I'm sure it is, and I'm going to continue to do my research on it, but I almost guarantee you that they won't necessarily ban it. Somebody will buy it, just like Elon Musk bought Twitter when they were having similar problems, right? And it's still Twitter, or now X, but it's still there. It didn't go anywhere. It's just changed ownership, right? And I think I almost bet you that's what's going to happen. So I doubt TikTok's really going to go away. And even if it does, there's plenty of ways to get around it. I understand. I've not tried it, but you know that they say it's going to be banned in the United States. Doesn't mean it's going to be banned in the rest of the world, right? So you can download an app that's from somewhere else. I heard. I don't know. I've not tried it. I'm not that interested in TikTok to go to that great length of effort. But the reason I have social media at all is because I have a business. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't use it. It really doesn't matter to me. But that's the way you do business these days. And so I'm kind of forced into being an older guy in the new technology world, right? So you either sink or swim, right? And so there you go. Anyway, those are my thoughts about TikTok. And I would really be interested to hear what you guys might have to say about it. Obviously, this is on a Spotify podcast. I don't think there's a place to put comments, but I would, if you're really interested in conversing or sending a message, you can find my contact information on my website at lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. There's a contact page, and I would really like to hear from you what your thoughts are. Good or bad, doesn't matter. Everybody has an opinion there, and they should have one. If we were all the same, some of us would be unnecessary, right? So anyway, is TikTok the problem? I think it's a very, very, very small part of the problem. Anyway, I will finish here. I will talk at you later, and I look forward to hearing from you.